Hello, my friends, and I hope you are having a fantastic day. Today, I felt we should talk about the recent Concord beta. As I was looking around for something to talk about, I noticed, this Games Radar article caught my eye. It says here, Concord gets an early seal of approval from hero shooter rival Overwatch amid open beta praise for solid gunplay and some amazing sci-fi art. And says Concord had a strong first weekend. Perhaps the most telling of those is from Overwatch senior animator Kyle Desange, and I apologize for mispronouncing that, who says the rival shooter is a great surprise so far with distinct characters and fast and kinetic combat. Overwatch's position in the hero shooter market is in no doubt. Plenty of other people have had their hands on the game over the weekend, too. Second Wind's Nick Calandra mentions solid gunplay and diverse heroes, suggesting that PlayStation could have another multiplayer winner on their hands. Elsewhere, Kinda Funny's Paris Lily and Blessing Adio Jr., and I, again, apologize for screwing that up, were also impressed. Lily said there's room for some tweaks to TTK and weapon balancing, but Concord has a chance in the already competitive, crowded PvP scene. Adio Jr., meanwhile, simply said that Concord is actually fantastic, exactly what I wanted it to be. And we're not going to go through the rest of this article, honestly. Not that there's a whole ton more of it, but realistically, you see what they're saying here. So why go any further? Now, what I do find interesting about this article is they spend a lot of time talking about game developers and other media journalists. I don't see anything about players. And here on the portal, however, we have gaming news. Players divided over Concord beta experience. Concord beta receives mixed reviews from players. Is it a hit or miss? Players are divided over the Concord beta experience after its recent release. Some praise its polished gameplay, while others critique its character designs and overall appeal. Let's dive into the community's thoughts on the game. The summary: players are impressed by the game's polish, but express concern about its design choices. Opinions vary on the game's potential success, with some calling for it to go to free-to-play. Honestly, there's always going to be people calling for games to go free-to-play because they don't want to pay for them. The unfortunate matter is if you want a good game, you do have to pay for it somewhere. That's just a fact. Comparison to other popular hero shooters like Overwatch highlight perceived shortcomings. Impressive polished design concerns. Many players commend Concord Beta for its polished gameplay during the beta phase, but point out issues with character designs and overall aesthetic appeal. A user notes game is extremely polished for a beta, but to have any chance it needs to go free to play. This sentiment underscores a common theme of high expectations for the game's future success. I'm not sure how that underscores a common theme of high expectation for the game's first huge success. That sounds to me more like a low expectation if you think it has to be free to play for people to play it. Maybe this is written by AI, I'm not sure. Comparisons to Overwatch. Comparisons to Overwatch are frequent among players, with some questioning Concord's unique selling points. A user expresses skepticism, stating, "How is this any better than Overwatch? What is the draw to this game over other hero shooters?" These comparisons highlight the challenges Concord faces in standing out in the crowded market. Differing opinions. Players' opinions on Concord Beta vary greatly, with some finding enjoyment in its gameplay mechanics and potential, while others criticize its perceived lack of depth and originality. One user praises the game, saying, "Way more fun than I expected. Grabbed me more than Overwatch." This positivity contrasts with comments highlighting perceived shortcomings, such as, "I think it's as shallow as a puddle of spit. It doesn't have any direction." Overall, Concord Beta's reception remains mixed, with players voicing both praise and criticism for its gameplay and design choices. As the game continues to evolve, it will be interesting to see how developers address player feedback and shape the game's future. Now that, honestly, sounds like a more fair article to me. However, the one thing that this article has over the other article is that, it's actually talking about players and not other games journalists. It's almost like you should probably talk to the people who are going to buy the game and not to the people who get free keys. I do think a lot is to be gleaned from the performance during the beta. So I did have to take a little bit of time to find some good examples of what was actually occurring during the beta. I tried to go to Steam charts myself. However, it would only give you back to July 14th, which is when the open beta actually ended. Thus, you can't use those numbers to compare to current numbers, or you can't use those numbers to compare to other numbers because, well, that was in the past. That was after. Anybody playing now is very likely a developer or something along those lines. So here we have on July 12th, 2024, starting at about 6 p.m. Oh no, sorry. Starting at about 5 p.m. I'm not sure what time zone this is, but yeah, whatever. You see that for the 24-hour peak, there was 1,124 players with 923 players right now. Now, this was, as I recall, a closed beta. So an important thing to remember with these numbers is that these only include PlayStation Plus players who pre-ordered the game. Now, each player was given 5 early access codes to provide to their friends to play the open beta along with them. But either way, that is still going to be a smaller pool of people to pull from than it is if you were to have just a general open beta where anybody who had the game or had pre-purchased the game would be able to play it. You already have 2 limiting factors there, and that is going to cut it down. However, I feel like only having 1,124 people in the first 24 hours on this beta is still kind of low. I have seen people compare these numbers to the first Descendant numbers. Now, an important thing to remember is, again, this is a limited beta where only a specific pool could in fact play the game, whereas the first Descendant is already released and free to play. So it's not really a fair comparison to make. I know it's a fun comparison to make when you consider the character designs in first Descendant are much nicer to look at than the ones in Concord, but it is not an actually good comparison, unfortunately. To compare, one has players from PlayStation Plus who pre-ordered the game and maybe 5 friends. The other has an entire world full of people who can play it for free. Huge difference. It's not going to ever be a fair comparison. Now, I did want to look at 2 separate reviews for the game. I couldn't really find a really good positive review. Most of them just said, oh, it's great, I love the gameplay. Really brief. This was possibly the best one, this mini review right here, that I found that had positive points in it. Here, this is Xvault Gaming, Concord mini review. Smooth and varied gameplay, great presentation. Each character / class is very unique. Great maps. Premise for the story is interesting. Guardians of the Galaxy-esque feel. Most important, mechanically sound and fun. Their negatives are respawn locations need tweaked, role queue introduced, almost too much detail information to learn and grasp for your crew and roles for newcomers. They will have their official review after launch. I will include a link in the case you would like to check them out. And then you have Madame Savvy, and I did really like her review because she broke down a lot of things. So we're going to go ahead and step through that. I will also, as I said, for the previous one, include a link for hers in the description so that you can check her out. It says, okay, the game has 0 PC optimization, dropping frames on a 4080. We'll give it another shot later. But Savvy, they had the guys from Destiny and Halo on it, so it has to be good. They had the guys who clearly didn't come up with the stuff, just knew how to do the slow jumps and then copy-pasted the Sun Warlock stuff. They ripped off Overwatch way too hard on some of them. I swear one of the maps is a hard Destiny rip down to a little alley. Character designs were all pretty bad and headache-inducing, like a Sims randomizer. The alien cat chick and the Asian sunlock chick were the best 2 aesthetically. Jumping does not make sense. Input responses were delayed, failed, or randomly worked. I wanted the game to be good. I really did. But there's nothing about it that will take anyone away from Overwatch or Valorant. There is nothing about it that makes me want to play it over something else I've already sunk hours into, and that will hurt them. Hated the intro and the dialogue. There is some Marvel-type dialogue which felt so misplaced and uninspiring. The introduction to the characters didn't really tell you anything and was more annoying to watch. I would have rather skipped it. It's another one of those we're not going to take this super seriously because we're quirky and fun kind of vibes. They were very limited in their inclusivity. and it would appear humans have colonized other species, as everyone operates under the English language and uses human binary/terminology. There is recoil on PC. Projectile speed between gun options are interesting. Can't say I liked the cooldowns, and the double shift dodges were annoying. Just make a better jump and get rid of the double shift dodging. And she did play it a little bit on PC, so you'll be able to check that out if you want to. Now, in my opinion, these two reviews are quite different. Why are they? A lot of reasons are possible. Could be one played it on the PlayStation 5 and the other played it on PC. But overall, these kinds of things are going to happen. And it definitely looks like it was met with mixed reviews from the most important group, which is the players. The players of a game are always the more important group than the developers and games journalists. And I think that's part of what bothers games journalists. One thing I found very interesting while I was going through and looking for the reviews I wanted to use and looking for any more information was a lot of people saying, wait for the reviews to come out. Wait for the reviews to come out. Wait for the reviews to come out. On this day and age, you don't really have to wait so much for the reviews to come out. You wait for someone you know to play it. You wait for a YouTuber to play it on stream so you can actually see it, if that's what you want to do. You don't have to rely on a games journalist to tell you. Now, I know I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. Y'all, if you're here on this channel, you probably already know this thing, and some of you probably hate it. Some of you would probably rather get your information from the games journalists and think that they should gatekeep that stuff, and others of you think games journalists shouldn't exist. We all have our varying opinions on these things, because humans have varying opinions, go figure. No matter what the game reviews say, the players will be the ones who make the final decisions. While the game journalists can say, oh, it's a 10 out of 10 game, if people don't like it, it's not going to succeed. I will say, as someone who is willing to play first-person shooters with my friends, looking at it, it's not something I would say. If one of my friends came up to me and said, hey, I really like this game, would you want to play it with me? I'm gonna be honest, I would look at it and say, no, this doesn't look like a game I would be interested in trying. Just from the looks alone. And maybe that's the wrong kind of way to judge something, but if I'm gonna have to look at it, it needs to not make me want to burn my eyes out. The colors are horrific. But what can I say? I'm kind of snobby that way. What do you guys think? Do you think that Concord is getting a bad rap with the players? Do you think that the games journalists are going to have this one right? Be really interested to hear what you think down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. If you really liked it, you can feel free to share it around, and I will catch you later.